With regards to classes, I also wanted to mention that elements can have multiple classes, and this can be useful for a number of different reasons. Before discussing that, I just wanted to briefly mention why I have div.green background here. This is just one style that you can use, right? Because if I remove the div, it still works just fine. But if I do div space green background, it doesn't work. Right? So why does getting rid of the space work? Well, when you do it like this with no space, it's basically saying, okay, look for divs that have this class, green background. Right? This div has that class. Whereas if I leave a space, it's looking for descendant elements or children or grandchildren or some way down the descendant chain to have green background class. Right? So if I do it like this, it doesn't work, right? As we've seen already. But on the other hand, if we do it like this, it works because we're saying look for divs with this class. So you might see it this way, or sometimes you might see it this way. Really, it comes down to your preference in a lot of the cases. Now, back to having multiple classes on any given element. It could definitely be useful for something like our little cursive h4 class. And actually, I'm going to get rid of this class declaration. And instead, you might want to have some kind of common class where you want to do some sort of consistent styling. So we'll take cursive as an example. And let's say we had our div class here have green background and also a cursive class. And all you need to do is leave a space and then start another class name. And you can have many class names. Usually you don't do more than 2, sometimes 3, but you don't have too many in an element. But it is possible to have multiples. Right? This way, if we grab a class called cursive, we can then set the font family to cursive. This is probably a lot more reusable than just declaring, okay, this h4 I want to be cursive. And then this h1 I also want to be cursive, so maybe I should create a separate class for that. Well, it really pays to kind of think about common styling elements you're going to be doing. Right? If you know you're going to be doing cursive on a bunch of elements, and those elements otherwise don't really have any relationship to each other, well, it kind of makes sense to put that in a separate class. Right? Because now on my h4, I can just add the class cursive, right? And it'll work. We refresh. Now everything is cursive. Well, everything inside this div class anyway. Notice that the first element is all cursive, but the second and third aren't. And it makes sense because we don't have that class on here. We can do cursive here. And this way, this div will become cursive. And in fact, we don't need it on this h4. This class will be cursive without us having to apply the green background. Right? So let's refresh. Now this is all cursive. Makes sense, right? And now if we wanted to, we could come into our h1, put a class of cursive on it, and it'll definitely work. Down here, there we go. Right, so class is super useful, and take some time to think about your styling and where a class would be appropriate.